After startling videos showing Lil Mendeecees slapping his own father, Mendeecees harassed in public, the internet is ablaze. Left dumbfounded and wondering what might have led to such a violent father-son confrontation, fans, is there anything much more deep developing between the two, or was this a flash of sheer wrath? Witnesses say that things got out of hand rapidly when Mendeecees and Lil Mendeecees were seen inside a fancy automobile fighting aggressively. It appeared at first like just another father-son argument, but within minutes everything collapsed. Sources say voices were raised, accusations were flung, and before anybody could respond, smack. Lil Mendeecees was totally shocked when his hand shot across his father's face. According to reports, the whole incident was recorded on camera. Now people are feverishly looking for the leaked material, including everyone conversing. What might have driven Lil Mendeecees to cross the line like this? Was Mendeecees pushing his son too far? Or is there a family secret hiding beneath this startling fight? Stay tuned, because we're about to break down every crazy aspect of this jaw-dropping father-son brawl. The stress in the expensive automobile was evident, thick enough to cut with a knife. Mendeecees Harris sat in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel a touch too hard, his knuckles becoming white. Lil Mendeecees sat next to him, his jaw tensed, eyes flashing with rage. It started as a simple conversation, maybe even an attempt at bonding, but within minutes, the air inside the car had shifted, grown heavy with bitterness, old scars, and unresolved rage. "You never listen, man," Lil Mendeecees grumbled, shaking his head. His voice was low, controlled, but there was an evident edge of frustration beneath it. "You always think you know what's best for me, but you don't. You never have." Mendeecees let out a heavy sigh, his fingers tightening their grip on the wheel. "That's not fair," he fired back, his voice just as low but tainted with the strain of years of trying. "I've been trying to do right by you. You think this is easy? Being a father, especially after what we've been through?" Lil Mendeecees scoffed, turning to stare out the passenger window. The city lights blurred past them, but his thoughts was elsewhere, somewhere deep in the past, remembering every moment he had felt like an afterthought in his father's life. The occasions when he had wanted instruction, but had been met with absence. The years of watching from the sidelines while his father formed a life with Yandy and their kids, while he was forced to find his own way. "Don't even start with that, man," he continued, his voice rising harder now. "You talk about being a father, but where were you when I needed you? Where were you when I was figuring it out on my own? When I had to be my own man since you weren't there?" Mendeecees inhaled deeply, his chest rising and falling with the weight of unspoken regrets. He understood his son had every right to feel the way he did. He realized he had made mistakes, huge ones, but he had also sought to make amends. Hadn't he? "I was doing what I had to do," he replied, his voice lower now, almost imploring. "I was handling business, making sure you had all you needed. Maybe I wasn't there the way I should have been, but don't pretend like I didn't care." Lil Mendeecees turned back to face his father, his brows furrowed, his breath coming in sharp, controlled bursts. "You always say that," he murmured, "but words don't mean anything when your actions don't match. You expect me to just what? Forget everything? Act like everything's cool?" Mendeecees exhaled, running a hand over his face. "No," he admitted, "I don't expect you to forget. But heck, can't we at least try to go forward?" For a second, there was silence. Just the sound of the car's engine humming beneath them, the faint murmur of the city outside. But that silence wasn't peace. It was the lull before the storm. Lil Mendeecees chuckled, but it wasn't out of amusement. It was bitter, hollow. "Move forward?" he repeated, shaking his head. "How, man? How can you expect me to accomplish that when you don't even take responsibility? When you sit here acting like I should just take whatever you say?" Mendeecees turned his head slightly, his patience wearing thin. "You don't think I've taken responsibility?" he asked, his voice growing tight with frustration. "You think I haven't tried to fix things?" Lil Mendeecees stared at him, eyes dark, full of pent-up resentment. You know what your problem is, he said, voice dangerously low. You think just because you've done better lately, it erases everything from before. But it doesn't. I'm still coping with that asterisk, even if you're not. Mendeecees clenched his jaw. The talk had gone from tense to heated in a matter of minutes. He knew his son was hurt. He knew he had every right to be angry. But something about the way Lil Mendeecees spoke, as if every effort he had made meant nothing, cut more than he thought. You don't get it, Mendeecees mumbled, shaking his head. Lil Mendeecees leaned forward slightly, his eyes flashing with rage. No, he yelled, his voice rising now. You don't get it. And that's when it happened. The breaking point. Mendeecees scoffed, rolling his eyes, dismissing his son's pain in one single gesture. And in that brief second, before he could even register what was happening, Lil Mendeecees' hand shot out. Smack it. The sound of the smack echoed within the automobile, a quick, stunning fracture that broke whatever control was left between them. Mendeecees' head snapped to the side, his cheek searing from the blow. His eyes expanded, not out of pain, but out of pure shock. Lil Mendeecees sat back, his chest rising and falling with deep, irregular breaths. His hands were still trembling, his own face locked in a mix of wrath and disbelief. He had done it. He had truly done it. For a minute, neither of them spoke. The weight of what had just happened hovered in the air like a heavy fog. Mendeecees slowly turned back, his jaw hardening. His breathing was regulated, but there was an evident fire in his eyes. What the hell did you just do? He asked, his voice dangerously low. Lil Mendeecees swallowed hard, his heart thumping. He had acted on instinct, on raw passion, and now, for the first time, he wasn't sure what would happen next. The time stretched agonizingly long, the tension in the air so heavy it felt stifling. Mendeecees' cheek was still burning, but the agony wasn't physical. It was something deeper, something that ripped through his pride, his authority as a father. He had never expected this, not from his own son. Lil Mendeecees' breathing was uneven, his hands still trembling slightly as he comprehended what he had just done. He wasn't even sure where that slap had come from. Anger? Frustration? Years of pent-up bitterness eventually erupting in one unfiltered moment. Mendeecees breathed sharply through his nostrils, his jaw clenching as he turned his whole body toward his son. His eyes were flaming, filled with something unrecognizable, hurt, betrayal, and something deeper. You just put your hands on me, he continued, his voice unnaturally calm. Lil Mendeecees swallowed hard, his chest rising and falling swiftly. He started, but no words came out. What could he even say? I didn't mean it. That would be a lie, because in that moment, he did mean it. Mendeecees gave out a bitter chuckle, shaking his head. That's how you feel, huh? He muttered. That much hate in your heart for me. Lil Mendeecees felt his stomach twist. Hate? Was that what his father believed this was? He didn't dislike him, did he? This isn't about hate, he continued, his voice hoarse with passion. This is about you never listening, never understanding where I'm coming from. Mendeecees scoffed. Oh, I understand just fine, he shot back, his voice shrill now. I bust my ass trying to be there for you now, and this is what I get. He gestured toward his still stinging cheek, his face twisted with disbelief. This is the respect I deserve? Lil Mendeecees' nostrils flared as frustration surged through him again. Man, don't act like you some saint, he yelled. You talk about being there for me now, but where was all this fatherly concern when I needed it the most? Mendeecees slammed his palm against the dashboard, his patience snapping. You act like I had a damn choice, he shouted, his voice shaking with undeniable frustration. Like I wanted to be locked up. Like I wanted to miss all those years. You think I didn't lay awake at night thinking about what I was missing? Thinking about you? Lil Mendeecees felt his throat tighten, but he didn't let it show. He refused to let his father twist this into a guilt-ridden sob story. Thinking about me wasn't enough, he stated coldly. Because when you finally came back, you still weren't really here. Mendeecees blinked, his breath hitching for just a second. That one hit deep. The words hung between them, heavy and stifling. The automobile, once full with passionate shouting, was now eerily silent. Then, suddenly, Mendeecees flung open the automobile door. Lil Mendeecees' eyes widened slightly as he watched his father stride out onto the street, fists clutched at his sides. The streetlights overhead put a harsh lighting on his face, making the wrath and hurt in his expression even more obvious. Lil Mendeecees hesitated for a bit before ultimately pushing open his own door and walking out. He wasn't about to back down. Not now. You walking away now. He called out, his voice dripping with sarcasm. That's real mature. Mendeecees spun around so fast, his expression almost unreadable. You want to act like a grown man? He said, his voice deadly calm. Then face me like one. Lil Mendeecees' heart pounded. He understood his father didn't mean a real fight, but the words felt like a challenge regardless. And in that moment, neither of them were just father and son. They were two men, face to face, years of hidden grief and bitterness threatening to explode once again. The street surrounding them was unnaturally silent, just the occasional passing automobile in the distance. But at this moment, inside this maelstrom of emotions, nothing else existed except them. Mendeecees let out a leisurely breath, his expression relaxing just slightly. Look, you don't understand everything, and maybe that's on me, he said. But don't think for 1 second that you got the right to put your hands on me. Lil Mendeecees scoffed. Yeah, and what you gonna do about it? Mendeecees' jaw clenched again, but this time, he didn't take the bait. Instead, he took a step forward, so close now that Lil Mendeecees could feel the tension radiating off him. I don't gotta do anything, Mendeecees murmured, his voice low, controlled, but weighted with significance. You already get it to yourself. Lil Mendeecees felt something shift in his chest. The words didn't seem like a threat, yet somehow, they hit harder than any slap ever could. Mendeecees shook his head, stepping back slightly. You want to act like you grown? Fine, but let me tell you something, real guys don't allow their emotions to decide their choices for them. Lil Mendeecees stared at him, his breathing still uneven. Then, without another word, Mendeecees turned and went away. Lil Mendeecees stood still, watching his father disappear into the shadows of the street. And for the first time since this entire conflict started, he wasn't sure if he had won or lost. Lil Mendeecees stood there, his fist still clutched at his sides, his breathing unsteady. He watched his father go away, disappearing into the dimly lit streets. The chilly air bit at his skin, but he scarcely noticed. His mind was racing, his chest tight with emotions he couldn't quite name. Was this it? Was this the moment where the slender thread of a relationship they had left finally snapped? His hands trembled as he pulled out his phone, his fingers hovering over the screen. He wanted to contact someone, his mother, a friend, anyone who could assure him he hadn't just committed the biggest mistake of his life. But before he could do anything, his phone chimed. A notification, Instagram. His heart fell as he saw what it was. A video. The video. Someone had recorded the fight, the slap, the moment Mendeecees walked away. And it was already going viral. Lil Mendeecees' stomach twisted. He tapped the notification, and as soon as the video loaded, he saw the comments coming in. Damn, Lil Mendeecees really hit his own dad. This is wild. Mendeecees didn't deserve that. Nah, I get why he did it. That man been a deadbeat. This is very embarrassing for the family. Mendeecees went away like a genuine man. Lil Mendeecees still got a lot to learn. The remarks came quicker and faster, like a tidal wave he couldn't stop. His heart pounded. He hadn't even thought about the fact that they were in public, that someone might have been filming. Now the whole world knew. Lil Mendeecees' jaw tensed as he scrolled. His father hadn't posted anything yet, no response, no statement, nothing, but he knew it was coming. Mendeecees wasn't the sort to let things pass, especially not something this significant. Panic started creeping in. What had he done? His fingers hesitated over the delete app option for a second, but he knew that wouldn't change anything. The internet had already taken control. His phone buzzed again. This time a call. His mother. He swallowed hard before answering. Mom, what the hell did you do? Yandy's voice hit like a bullet. It wasn't just anger. It was disbelief, irritation, and a whole lot of disappointment. Lil Mendeecees ran a hand over his face. Mom, it's not what it looks like. I don't give a damn what it looks like. She snapped. Do you have any idea what you just did? This ain't just some argument between you and your dad anymore. It's a public mess. Everyone is talking about it. 10 Nuts is already contacting out for a statement. The Shade Room tweeted it. And now I got people lighting up my phone like I need to explain what's going on between you and your father. Lil Mendeecees' throat tightened. He hadn't thought about that. The media, the gossip blogs. His mother was dragged into it. Mom, I didn't mean for it to happen like this, he added, his voice softer now. You didn't mean to. Yandy let out a humorless laugh. You think that makes it better? Baby, you just put your hands on your father. In public, and the whole world witnessed it. Do you realize what this is gonna do to him? Lil Mendeecees flinched at the question. What was it gonna do to him? Would this affect his father's reputation? Would it wreck their relationship forever? Yandy breathed heavily. She was outraged, but more than that, she sounded fatigued. You need to fix this, she added, her voice lower now but still forceful. I don't care how mad you are. I don't care what yo were arguing about. You are gonna fix this. Because this ain't how we handle things. Lil Mendeecees was silent for a moment. His pride was still there, but it was starting to fracture. I'll talk to him, he finally mumbled. Yandy let out another heavy sigh. I hope so, because right now, the world is watching. And you better believe your father is too. She hung up before he could say anything else. Lil Mendeecees exhaled shakily, his mind racing. He needed to talk to his father. But where was he? Then, as if on cue, his phone buzzed again. A text message from Mendeecees. Meet me at the studio. Now, Lil Mendeecees' pulse spiked. He didn't know what to expect, but one thing was clear. This wasn't over. The studio was quiet when Lil Mendeecees arrived. Too quiet. His father was already there, sitting on the black leather couch, his countenance unreadable. The air between them was thick with tension. Lil Mendeecees stopped in the doorway. For a fleeting second, he pondered turning around and leaving. But he understood that wasn't an option. He went inside, closing the door behind him. Mendeecees didn't look up at first. He was browsing through his phone, undoubtedly looking at the same posts, the same remarks that Lil Mendeecees had read before. Finally, after what felt like an age, he laid the phone down and breathed. So this is where we at now, he said, his voice calm but heavy. Fighting in the streets like we ain't got no home training. Lil Mendeecees winced. He opened his mouth to answer, but his father wasn't done. You embarrassed me, Mendeecees added, his tone sharper now. You embarrassed this family. You think that's what being a man is about? Lil Mendeecees' jaw tightened. Man, don't talk to me about being a man when you... No. Mendeecees cut him off. You don't get to talk right now. You gonna listen. Lil Mendeecees fell silent. Mendeecees shook his head, his voice softer now. He wasn't just angry, he was hurt. I know I messed up in the past, he said. I know I wasn't always there. But you need to understand something. I did what I had to do. I ain't flawless, but everything I did for this family. Lil Mendeecees swallowed hard. He had never heard his father talk like this before. You think slapping me made you a man? Mendeecees asked. Nah, owning your mistakes. That's what makes you a man. Lil Mendeecees felt his stomach twist. Was this his mistake to own? The hush stretched between them. Then, eventually, he breathed. I messed up, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Mendeecees nodded. Yeah, you did. Another pause. But I ain't perfect either. His father added, and maybe we both got some things we need to fix. Lil Mendeecees looked up, meeting his father's eyes for the first time in what felt like forever. Maybe there was yet hope. Maybe this wasn't the end, but the world was still watching, and the fallout was just begun. The quiet between them felt heavier than any dispute they'd ever had. For the first time in years, Lil Mendeecees and his father weren't yelling, weren't flinging accusations at each other. They were just staring, absorbing, realizing. Mendeecees eventually broke the stillness. "You know what the worst part of all this is?" he said, voice quieter now, but still edged with disappointment. "It ain't even about what you did. It's about how the world is observing us, evaluating us, turning this into entertainment." Lil Mendeecees exhaled sharply, rubbing his hands over his face. "Man, you think I wanted this? I didn't realize someone was recording. I didn't mean for it to go viral." "That ain't the point," Mendeecees interrupted, shaking his head. "We live in a world where everything we do is under a microscope. You think you can just move like an ordinary dude? You carry my name. People know you. You don't get the luxury of making mistakes in private." Lil Mendeecees swallowed hard, the reality of his father's words hitting him like a punch to the gut. His father leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees. "Look, I ain't gonna sit here and act like I'm innocent. I made my share of mistakes. Hell, maybe more than my share. But you received an opportunity to do better. Don't throw that away simply 'cause you're mad at me." Lil Mendeecees clenched his jaw. "It ain't just about being mad. It's about respect. You think just 'cause you my dad, you automatically get it?" Mendeecees narrowed his eyes. "Respect is a two-way street. You slapped me in public and went off like I was nothing, like I wasn't the man who reared you." Lil Mendeecees' stomach twisted. He wanted to fight back, to argue, to cling onto the rage that had been blazing inside him for so long. But now all that fire just felt like smoke. A harsh knock on the studio door made both of them turn. Mendeecees frowned. "You expecting somebody?" Lil Mendeecees shook his head. "Nah." Mendeecees stood up and walked over to open the door. It was Yandy, and she was upset. Her eyes flew between them, her lips drawn into a tight line. The tension in the room suddenly altered. "Are y'all serious right now?" she demanded, stepping inside. "I can't go nowhere without people stopping me, asking me about this damn video. Do you have any idea how messy this is?" Mendeecees sighed. "Yandy, we handling it." "Handling it?" she snapped, crossing her arms. "Oh, so handling it means letting the blogs run wild, letting everybody paint their own picture of what happened. Handling it implies letting your son look like some out-of-control youngster, and you like some weak father who got smacked and just walked away." Lil Mendeecees shifted uncomfortably. "Mom, no. Don't mom me." Yandy cut him off, her voice sharp. "You both messed up, and if you think sitting in this studio, going back and forth, is fixing anything, you're mistaken. You need to make a statement." Mendeecees and Lil Mendeecees exchanged glances. "A statement?" Mendeecees repeated. "You mean like an apology video?" Yandy gave him a look. "You think I care about what y'all say to the internet? I'm talking about solving this for real. If y'all can't figure this out, I don't care if cameras are filming or not. This family is done." Lil Mendeecees felt his chest tighten. Done? He had never heard his mother say that before. Mendeecees' expression clouded. "Ain't nobody saying we done. But this ain't something that just gets solved overnight, Yandy. This ain't just a PR problem. This is real." Yandy exhaled through her nose, pinching the bridge of it like she was trying not to lose her temper. "Look, I don't care how long it takes, but you two need to get your heads on straight. You're acting like you don't love each other, like you don't even care how this looks." Lil Mendeecees' throat tightened. He did care, but how was he expected to solve it? He thought about the slap, the quarrel in the vehicle, the years of built-up hatred that had led them to that moment. It wasn't just about that fight. It was about everything. He sighed. "So what do we do?" Yandy's gaze softened just a little. You talk, really chat, and not in a damn studio like this is a business deal. You sit down, face to face, and figure out where the hell you go from here. Mendeecees ran a hand over his head, letting out a long breath. Fine, but if we do this, we do it right. No cameras, no social media, just us. Lil Mendeecees nodded slowly. Yeah, okay. Yandy studied them both, then finally relaxed her arms. Good, but before she could say anything else, her phone buzzed. She glanced down at it, and her face immediately stiffened. Lil Mendeecees frowned. What is it? Yandy's eyes lifted, worry flashing across her face. It's TMZ, she said softly. They just leaked something else. Mendeecees stiffened. Leaked what? Yandy hesitated, then turned her phone around so they could see the screen. And when Lil Mendeecees saw it, his blood ran cold. It was a new video, one that neither of them had seen before. The caption? Mendeecees' revenge? Shocking new footage shows what happened after the slap. Lil Mendeecees' heart plummeted. What the hell was this? He took the phone and tapped the video. It started playing, and quickly, he felt nauseated because it was his father, standing in the street, talking to someone, and the guy he was talking to was an LAPD officer. Mendeecees' expression darkened. Lil Mendeecees' stomach turned. Had his father phoned the cops on him? No, that couldn't be. That wasn't feasible. Right? He turned to Mendeecees, his hands shaking. Dad, what the hell is this? Mendeecees' jaw tightened, his eyes locked on the screen. He wasn't answering. Yandy's phone buzzed again. Another update, this time from the shade room. G. Sources confirm police involvement after Lil Mendeecees' viral altercation with his father. Details still unfolding. Lil Mendeecees felt the room spin. His voice came out harsh. Dad, tell me this ain't what I think it is. Mendeecees still didn't say anything, and that silence was louder than any words he could have spoken, because the damage was already done. And this was simply the beginning, and just like that, everything has changed. What started as a passionate argument in a car has now developed into a full-blown family catastrophe, with the entire world watching. Lil Mendeecees and his father were already at odds, but now, with this additional tape surfacing with the prospect of police involvement, this problem just became 10 times worse. So we have to ask, what do you think truly happened? Did Mendeecees genuinely call the cops on his own son, or is this footage being taken out of context? Is there more to the narrative that we don't know yet? And most importantly, can their relationship ever recover after this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this is a conversation nobody saw coming. And trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next, because this drama is far from over. Make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on all notifications, because the next update on this situation is going to be even wilder. You do not want to miss it. Stay tuned, because this story is only getting started.